The massive alien ship appeared near Earth without warning. It was bigger than any space station humans had ever built. The ship looked like a crystal mountain floating in the darkness of space. Its surface sparkled with lights of every color. Along its sides, strange symbols glowed bright blue and gold. Ambassador Ztholar stood on the ship's main deck. He was tall and thin, with skin like silver metal. His forearms moved in careful patterns as he prepared for the most important moment of his long life. Around him stood representatives from dozens of alien races. There were the rock-like granite lords, the floating jellyfish creatures called void dancers, and the bird-like stellar hawks with their rainbow feathers. All of them had come to witness this historic moment. After 3,000 years, the Great Peace Treaty was over. The humans would finally face the power of the United Galaxy. Ztholar activated the communication system. His voice went out to every human radio, television, and computer on Earth. It reached the space stations, the moon colonies, and the ships traveling between planets. People of Earth, he began, his voice deep and serious. I am Ambassador Ztholar of the Galactic Confederation. For 3,000 years, your species has lived under the protection of the Great Armistice. That protection ends today. He paused, waiting for the fear to spread across human space. In his mind, he could see millions of humans screaming in terror. He imagined their leaders rushing to prepare defenses that would never be enough. Your expansion across the galaxy has gone too far, Ztholar continued. Your ships have entered sacred spaces. Your colonies have disturbed ancient worlds. The Council of Elders has voted. The armistice is broken. War has been declared. The ambassador spread all four of his arms wide. Behind him, the other aliens stood in perfect formation. Their ships filled the space around Earth like a metal storm cloud. You have 7 Earth days to surrender completely. Remove your colonies from all worlds beyond your home system. Destroy your space fleets. Accept our rule or face the combined might of 10,000 alien civilizations. Ztholar ended the transmission and waited. Soon he expected human leaders would contact him. They would beg for mercy. They would offer anything to avoid total destruction. Instead, something strange happened. The human communication channels exploded with noise, but it wasn't screaming. It wasn't panic. It was laughter. On Earth's primary diplomatic channel, a woman's voice came through clearly. She sounded almost bored. This is Secretary Chen of Earth's External Affairs Office. Sorry, could you repeat that? We missed most of your message because half our staff was laughing too hard to work the recording equipment. Ztholar felt his confidence shake. This wasn't the response he expected. I said war has been declared. The armistice is over. You must surrender or be destroyed. There was a long pause. Then Secretary Chen's voice came back and she was clearly trying not to laugh. War? Oh, you mean like the old treaty thing from way back? Hold on, let me check our historical records. Another pause. Yes, here it is. The document from 3,000 years ago. Something about keeping our species apart. That's still active? It was active, Ztholar said, his voice rising. We have ended it. We are here to make you submit to our authority. Oh, okay, Secretary Chen said, sounding like someone had just told her about a minor scheduling problem. Would you like to come down to the surface to discuss this? We have a very nice conference room. The coffee's pretty good too. Coffee? Ztholar looked around at his fellow ambassadors. The granite lord was making confused rumbling sounds. The void dancers were flickering with nervous energy. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. You don't understand, Ztholar tried again. This is a declaration of war. We have come to conquer your species. You should be afraid. Well, sure, Secretary Chen replied. But these things take time to organize, right? Legal paperwork, proper procedures, that sort of thing. Why don't we sit down and talk about it? We'll order lunch. On the communication channels throughout human space, the laughter was getting louder. Ztholar could hear humans sharing jokes about the alien invasion. Someone had already made a song about it. Another human was selling t-shirts. The ambassador tried one more time. We have 10,000 battle fleets. We have weapons that can destroy planets. We have conquered hundreds of species across the galaxy. That's very impressive, Secretary Chen said, and she actually sounded like she meant it. You must have some amazing stories. Our historians would love to hear them. Are you sure you won't come down for coffee? We have some really nice pastries too. A stellar hawk leaned close to Ztholar and whispered, Perhaps they don't understand what war means, but that couldn't be right. Humans had been in space for thousands of years. They had colonies on hundreds of worlds. They couldn't be that naive. Ztholar tried a different approach. Your ships will be destroyed. Your colonies will be burned. Your people will serve us as slaves. Oh my, Secretary Chen said, sounding slightly more interested. That does sound serious. Tell you what, why don't I transfer you to our Defense Department? They handle this sort of thing. A new voice came on the channel. This one belonged to a man who sounded like he was eating something. Hi there, this is General Martinez with Earth Defense. Sorry about that, I was just finishing my sandwich. So you're declaring war on us? That's interesting, can I ask why? Ztholar felt a headache starting behind his eyes. Because you have violated the terms of the Armistice. You have spread too far across the galaxy. Huh. General Martinez said, I'm looking at our expansion records here and we've been pretty careful to avoid populated systems. We always scan for life before we set up colonies. Are we bothering someone? You are bothering everyone! Ztholar shouted. Your presence is a threat to galactic peace. Oh, well, that's not good, the general said, sounding genuinely concerned. We definitely don't want to threaten anyone. Maybe we can work something out. Move some colonies around, establish some buffer zones, that kind of thing. Around Ztholar, the other alien ambassadors were starting to whisper among themselves. This wasn't going according to plan at all. The humans were supposed to be terrified. They were supposed to understand the hopelessness of their situation. Instead, they were treating the whole thing like a minor diplomatic issue. Like a noise complaint between neighbors. This is not a negotiation, Ztholar said, putting all his authority into his voice. This is conquest. Submit or be destroyed. General Martinez was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, he sounded puzzled. You know, I'm reading through this old treaty you mentioned. It's really interesting. Says here that it was signed after some kind of conflict 3,000 years ago. Do you happen to know anything about that war? Ztholar felt something cold settle in his stomach. Around him, the other ambassadors had gone very quiet. That is ancient history, he managed to say. Yeah, probably, the general agreed. But I'm curious. Who won that war? The ambassador didn't answer. He couldn't answer. Because suddenly, standing there surrounded by his mighty fleet, looking down at the small blue world below, Ztholar was starting to remember exactly why there had been an armistice in the first place. In his private quarters aboard the flagship, Ztholar pulled up the restricted files. His hands shook as he entered the security codes that few aliens were allowed to know. The other ambassadors had returned to their ships confused and worried by humanity's strange reaction. But Ztholar needed to remember. He needed to understand why the humans weren't afraid. The first file opened with a warning written in the old galactic language. Restricted historical document, Level 9 security, the Terra War, access. Limited to council members only. Ztholar began to read, and with each line, his confidence crumbled a little more. The war had started by accident. 3,000 years ago, the galaxy was ruled by the hegemony, a collection of the oldest and most powerful alien races. They had divided space between themselves, creating territories that stretched across thousands of star systems. Everything was ordered. Everything was controlled. Then the humans appeared. At first, they seemed harmless. The early human ships were small and primitive. Their technology was simple compared to what the great alien civilizations possessed. When human explorers first met alien patrols, the meetings went well. There were even some successful trading agreements, but then more human ships came. And more. Within 50 years, humans had spread to over 100 star systems. They built colonies on worlds the aliens had never thought to use. They created trade routes through empty space. They established mining operations in asteroid fields. The Hegemony Council decided this couldn't continue. Humans were expanding too fast. They were disrupting the careful order that had kept peace in the galaxy for millions of years. The Council sent a diplomatic message. Humans must limit themselves to 10 star systems. All other colonies must be abandoned. The humans sent back a short reply. No, that was all. Just no. No explanation. No negotiation. No fear, the Council tried again. They sent a larger diplomatic fleet with impressive ships and powerful weapons visible. The message was the same. Withdraw from all but 10 systems or face the consequences. Again, the human reply was simple. No, leave us alone. The hegemony decided to make an example. They would destroy one human colony, something small and unimportant. The humans would see the power they were dealing with and submit. They chose a mining colony in what humans called the Ross system. It had maybe 50,000 people and a few small ships. The alien fleet that attacked it had over 1 million soldiers and weapons that could crack planets. The colony was destroyed in 6 hours. The aliens expected the humans to surrender immediately. Instead, something else happened. Every human colony, every human ship, every human station went completely silent. For 3 days, there was no communication from human space at all. The galaxy waited. On the 4th day, human ships appeared everywhere at once, not the small primitive ships the aliens expected. New ships, larger ships, ships with weapons the aliens had never seen before, ships that moved faster than anything in the galaxy. The first target was the alien fleet that had destroyed the mining colony. The human ships found them celebrating their easy victory at a supply station 3 star systems away. The entire alien fleet was gone in 12 minutes. Not just destroyed, gone. The human weapons didn't just break the ships apart. They erased them completely, leaving nothing but empty space. That was when the hegemony realized they had made a terrible mistake. The humans weren't expanding randomly. They had been scouting. Every system they had colonized gave them a perfect view of alien territories. Every trade route they established was also a potential attack route. Every mining operation had been creating raw materials for weapons. While the aliens had been debating and sending diplomatic messages, the humans had been preparing for war. The counterattack was swift and brutal. Human fleets struck at alien colonies, supply lines, and military bases all across the galaxy. But they didn't just attack, they did something much worse. They fought smart. The aliens had millions of years of military tradition. They knew how civilized species fought wars. There were rules, patterns, proper procedures. You gathered your fleets, you chose your battlegrounds, you fought with honor. The humans ignored all of that. They attacked supply convoys instead of battle fleets. They struck at civilian targets that supported military operations. They used weapons that made no sense. Devices that turned entire space stations into clouds of dust. Machines that could make a star unstable. Ships that could appear anywhere without warning. But the worst part wasn't the human weapons. It was the humans themselves. They never seemed to get tired. They never seemed to run out of ships or soldiers or resources. Every time the aliens destroyed a human fleet, 2 more appeared. Every time they conquered a human colony, 5 new ones would be built somewhere else, and the humans kept getting better. Their technology advanced during the war. Their ships became faster, their weapons more powerful, their tactics more deadly. It was like fighting an enemy that grew stronger every time you hit them. Within 6 months, the hegemony had lost control of half their territory. Ancient alien civilizations that had ruled the galaxy for millions of years were begging for protection from species they had never heard of before. Within a year, human fleets were attacking the core worlds, the oldest and most powerful centers of alien civilization. That was when the Hegemony Council did something that had never been done in galactic history. They surrendered. Not just to end the war, they offered complete submission. They would give the humans anything they wanted. Any territory, any resources, any technology. Just please make it stop. The human reply was unexpected. We don't want your stuff. We just want you to leave us alone. The Armistice was signed 3 months later. The terms were simple. Humans would stay in their part of space. Aliens would stay in theirs. No contact, no interference. Both sides would pretend the other didn't exist. For the aliens, it was the best deal they could have hoped for. The humans could have conquered everything. Instead, they took their territories and simply stopped. They went back to building colonies and mining asteroids and doing whatever humans did. The galaxy spent the next 3,000 years trying to forget how close they had come to total defeat. But now, reading the files in his darkened cabin, Ztholar remembered everything. He remembered why his ancestors had hidden in the shadows of space for 3 millennia. He remembered why no alien ship had entered human territory for 3,000 years, and he realized that he had just declared war on the species that had once brought the entire galaxy to its knees. The worst part was the last line of the historical report. Note: human forces during the Terra War represented approximately 0.3% of total human population. Military analysts estimate that full human mobilization could have resulted in complete galactic conquest within 18 months. Ztholar closed the file and stared out at the stars. Somewhere in the distance he could see the lights of human colonies. They had been there all along, just beyond the edge of alien space, growing, building, advancing, for 3,000 years. He reached for his communicator to contact the other ambassadors, but stopped. What could he tell them? That they had just challenged the most dangerous species in galactic history? That every human colony they could see had probably grown more powerful than the entire hegemony fleet? Instead, he just sat in the darkness and wondered what humans had become in 3,000 years of peace. Admiral Kresh of the Stellar Hawks commanded the first probe attack. His fleet of 50 ships was considered small by alien standards, but it was armed with the most advanced weapons the Galactic Confederation possessed. The plan was simple: attack a remote human outpost, study their defenses, then report back to the main fleet. The target was a human research station in what the aliens called Sector 7. According to their intelligence, it was just a science facility with maybe 1,000 people, perfect for a quick strike that would show the humans this war was real. Kresh's ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Immediately his sensors started giving him readings that made no sense. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the human station, it's not where it should be." "What do you mean?" Kresh asked, looking at the display. "According to our maps, there should be a small research station orbiting the third planet. Instead, there's..." The officer paused, recalibrating his instruments. "Sir, there's a structure surrounding the entire star." Kresh felt his feathers ruffle with confusion. "Show me." The main screen lit up with an image that made the entire bridge fall silent. Where their intelligence said there should be a small station, there was instead a massive construction that wrapped around the system's sun like a metal shell. It was impossibly huge, big enough that entire planets could have fit inside it. "What are they doing to that star?" Kresh whispered. His science officer was running scans as fast as she could. "The energy readings are..." "Sir, I don't think our instruments can measure this properly. Whatever that structure is, it's collecting power from the sun and converting it into... something." A communication signal reached them from the human construct. The voice that came through was cheerful and friendly. "Hello there. This is Dr. Sarah Kim at the Ross Stellar Engineering Project. Are you folks lost? You're pretty far from the usual shipping lanes." Kresh tried to maintain his military composure. "This is Admiral Kresh of the Stellar Hawks. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed." There was a pause. Then Dr. Kim's voice came back, sounding confused. "Surrender? Sorry, I'm not sure what you mean. Are you having some kind of emergency? Do you need assistance?" "We are here to attack your facility," Kresh said, feeling foolish even as he said it. "How do you threaten to attack something that surrounds an entire star?" "Oh," Dr. Kim sounded surprised. "Well, that's unusual. Hold on, let me check with security." Another voice joined the conversation. "Hi, this is Jake from Station Security. Did someone just say they wanted to attack us? Is this some kind of drill?" Kresh was getting frustrated. "This is not a drill. We are an alien military force. We have come to destroy you." "Alien military force?" Jake sounded delighted. "That's amazing. We haven't seen any aliens in, well, ever. How exciting. Dr. Kim, are you recording this?" "Already on it," Dr. Kim replied. "This is fantastic. We'll have to throw a party." "Oh, but about that attacking thing, you might want to reconsider that. See, we're running some pretty sensitive experiments here." Kresh decided to end this ridiculous conversation. "All ships prepare to attack. Target their primary structures." His weapons officer looked uncertain. "Sir, which structures?" "The thing is bigger than our entire home system. I'm not sure what to aim at. Just fire at something." The fleet opened fire with their most powerful weapons. Beams of energy that could destroy entire cities struck the human construction. For a moment, Kresh felt satisfied. At least they were finally fighting. Then his tactical officer spoke up, sounding confused. "Sir, the energy from our weapons..." "It's not damaging the structure. It's being absorbed." "What do you mean absorbed?" "I mean the structure is converting our weapons fire into power and feeding it into whatever they're doing in there." Dr. Kim's voice came back over the communication channel. "Oh, thanks for the extra energy. That really helped with our current project. We're trying to optimize stellar fusion rates, and that power boost was exactly what we needed." Kresh felt his confidence starting to crack. What are you doing to that star?" "Oh, just some basic modifications," Dr. Kim said casually. We're adjusting the fusion process to increase energy output by about 30%. It's part of a larger project to improve power generation for the outer colonies. You're modifying a star? Well, yes. It's not that complicated once you understand the physics. We've done it to about 200 stars so far. Really helps with the power requirements for our terraforming projects. Kresh looked around his bridge. His officers were staring at the displays in shock. 200 stars? The humans were casually modifying suns like they were pieces of equipment. Sir, his science officer said quietly, if they can modify stellar fusion, the energy levels they're working with are thousands of times more powerful than our entire fleet. The admiral tried one more attack, ordering his ships to target what looked like a smaller structure on the edge of the construction. This time, something different happened. The human structure didn't just absorb the weapon fire. It sent something back. Not an attack, just a scan of some kind. But every system on every ship in the fleet immediately shut down. The lights went out. The engines stopped. The weapons powered down. Even life support went quiet for a terrifying moment before coming back online. Jake's voice came through the speakers again, sounding apologetic. Sorry about that. Our automated systems detected incoming weapons fire and responded with a standard defensive scan. It's supposed to just disable hostile technology temporarily. Is everyone okay over there? Kresh tried to speak and found his voice wasn't working. His ships, his advanced military-grade vessels, had been casually shut down by what the humans called a standard defensive scan. Dr. Kim's voice joined the conversation again. Jake, were these folks really trying to attack us? That seems so strange. Why would anyone want to do that? I have no idea, Jake replied. Maybe it's some kind of cultural misunderstanding? Or maybe they're from one of those species that still thinks war is a good way to solve problems. Oh, the poor things, Dr. Kim said, and she sounded genuinely sympathetic. They probably don't know any better. Should we send them some educational materials about peaceful conflict resolution? Kresh finally managed to find his voice. What are you? We're humans, Dr. Kim said, as if that explained everything. We're scientists and engineers. We like to build things and figure out how the universe works. What are you? We're warriors, Kresh said weakly. Warriors? How interesting. That's such an old-fashioned profession. Do you enjoy it? It seems like it would be very stressful. Around Kresh, his bridge crew was staring at their instruments in disbelief. The scans were showing impossible things. The human structure wasn't just big, it was sophisticated beyond anything in their databases. The technology they were looking at was so advanced that their computers couldn't even classify it properly. His communications officer was monitoring human radio transmissions from across the system. Sir, I'm picking up casual conversations from human facilities throughout this area. There are dozens of them. Stellar engineering projects, planet-building operations, something called a Galactic Internet Hub. And sir, his science officer added, her voice barely a whisper, the power readings I'm getting suggest that any one of these projects uses more energy than our entire civilization produces in a year. Kresh slumped in his command chair. This wasn't a research station. This was a glimpse of what humanity had become in 3,000 years of peace. They weren't just more advanced than the aliens. They were operating on a completely different level of existence. Dr. Kim's voice came back, still friendly and concerned. You folks have been very quiet. Are you sure you're all right? If you need medical assistance or technical support, we'd be happy to help. The Admiral looked out at the human construction surrounding the star, thought about the casual way they had disabled his entire fleet, and realized that this war was already over. It had probably been over before it started. President Chen sat in her office in Geneva, reading reports that made her feel like she was living in a strange dream. In the past week, there had been 17 separate incidents involving alien fleets and human installations. Throughout their territory, not one of them had been intentional. The Beijing Traffic Control Center had accidentally vaporized an alien battle group when their ships got too close to a commercial shipping lane. The automated defense systems thought they were debris and cleared them out of the way. A mining operation in the Vega system had destroyed another alien fleet by mistake. The miners were using controlled black holes to extract metals from a planet's core. When the alien ships appeared nearby, the gravitational fields crushed them instantly. The miners didn't even notice until they finished their shift. Worst of all was the incident at New Harvard University. A class of physics students had been working on a project about faster-than-light communication. Their experimental device had somehow detected the alien command frequencies and sent a feedback pulse that knocked out every alien ship within 10 light years. The students got extra credit for the discovery. President Chen rubbed her forehead and looked across the desk at Defense Minister Rodriguez and Science Advisor Dr. Patel. So, let me understand this correctly, she said. We've been accidentally destroying alien fleets with our traffic control systems, mining equipment, and college science projects? That's the situation, Rodriguez confirmed. And according to our deep space monitoring stations, there are more alien ships gathering at the edge of our territory. A lot more. Dr. Patel looked up from her tablet. Madam President, I've been analyzing the wreckage from these incidents. The alien technology is, well, it's very old-fashioned. Old-fashioned how? Their ships use fusion reactors that we stopped using 300 years ago. Their weapons are based on principles we learned in high school. Their computers are less sophisticated than the ones in our household appliances. President Chen frowned. That doesn't make sense. If they're that primitive, how did they maintain an armistice with us for 3,000 years? Dr. Patel and Rodriguez exchanged a look. We've been researching that, Rodriguez said carefully. We found some very old files in the historical archives. Files that have been classified for most of human history. Show me. Dr. Patel activated the wall display. Ancient documents appeared, written in old forms of human languages. These are records from the early colonial period. 3,000 years ago, we had just begun expanding into space when we encountered the first alien civilizations. The documents showed star maps, diplomatic communications, and military reports. President Chen read through them with growing amazement. According to these records, Dr. Patel continued, there was a short war. We won decisively, and the aliens agreed to a treaty that would keep our species separated. We won? President Chen asked. But look at the numbers here. They had thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, control over most of the galaxy. We had maybe a few hundred colonies. That's what makes this interesting, Rodriguez said. I've been studying the military reports. Our ancestors weren't more advanced than the aliens. They were just different. Different how? The aliens had a very traditional approach to warfare. Large fleets, direct confrontations, established battle tactics. They'd been fighting the same way for millions of years. Dr. Patel pulled up more documents, but humans approached the problem like engineers. Instead of building bigger fleets, they built smarter weapons. Instead of fighting fair battles, they struck at supply lines and support structures. Instead of following military traditions, they invented new ones. President Chen studied the records. It says here that the war ended when we developed something called stellar cascade weapons. What were those? Both advisors looked uncomfortable. Rodriguez answered quietly. Weapons that could make stars go supernova on command. Our ancestors built devices that could destroy entire solar systems in minutes. The president stared at them. We built weapons that could blow up suns? Apparently, and that's when the aliens surrendered. They realized that humans were willing to use any method necessary to win, including weapons that could sterilize entire sectors of the galaxy. Dr. Patel added, but here's what's really interesting. After the war ended, humans just stopped. We put the dangerous weapons away and went back to peaceful expansion. We honored the treaty and stayed in our assigned territories. President Chen was quiet for a long moment. So, for 3,000 years, the aliens have been hiding from us because they thought we were dangerous warmongers? It looks that way. And now they've declared war again because they think we're still the same species we were 3,000 years ago? Exactly. The president walked to the window and looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, alien fleets were gathering for a war they couldn't win, not because humans were more violent than before, but because they had become something much more dangerous. They had become accidentally invincible. Dr. Patel, she said, in your professional opinion, could we fight a war against these aliens if we wanted to? Fight a war? Dr. Patel looked confused. Madam President, we wouldn't need to fight a war. Our civilian infrastructure is more advanced than their military technology. Our children's science projects are more powerful than their weapons of mass destruction. Could they hurt us? Not really. Their most advanced weapons couldn't penetrate the shields on our commercial cargo ships. A single human patrol vessel could probably defeat their entire combined fleet without breaking a sweat. President Chen turned back to her advisors. Then why are we having this conversation? Rodriguez looked embarrassed. Because until this week we didn't know they existed. Our expansion has been so comprehensive that we never noticed the aliens hiding in the spaces between our territories. We've been accidentally surrounding them for centuries. We've been surrounding them? Dr. Patel pulled up a current star map. Human territories were marked in blue, alien hiding spots in red. The red areas looked like small islands in a vast blue ocean. Our colonies, mining operations, and research stations have spread throughout this entire region, Dr. Patel explained. We never realized we were boxing in thousands of alien civilizations. From their perspective, they've been watching us grow more powerful while they stayed hidden in the shadows. President Chen studied the map. How many of them are there? Our best estimate? About 50,000 different species scattered across maybe 10,000 star systems. 50,000 species. The president shook her head. All this time we thought we were alone in our part of the galaxy. They were very good at hiding, Rodriguez said. They've been avoiding us for 3 millennia. Their technology is specifically designed to be undetectable by human sensors. But now they've decided to fight us? It seems that way. And Madam President? Rodriguez hesitated. We need to decide how to respond. Our accidental defense systems are going to keep destroying their fleets until someone tells them to stop. President Chen looked at the star map again, thinking about 50,000 species that had been hiding from humanity for 3,000 years, thinking about alien civilizations that were so afraid of humans that they had spent millennia developing technology just to avoid being noticed, and thinking about the fact that those fears had apparently been completely justified. Set up a meeting, she said finally. Not a military response, a diplomatic one. I want to talk to their leaders, ma'am. Rodriguez, we've been accidentally terrorizing our neighbors for 3,000 years. The least we can do is apologize. The meeting took place on a neutral space station that humans had built in just 3 days. President Chen had wanted somewhere comfortable for their alien guests, so the construction crews had created a massive diplomatic facility, complete with environments suitable for every known alien species. Ambassador Ztholar walked through the station's main corridor, trying not to stare at the impossible architecture around him. The humans had somehow created a single building that contained dozens of different atmospheres, gravity levels, and environmental conditions. Sections designed for aquatic species flowed seamlessly into areas built for creatures that breathed methane. Temperature zones shifted gradually, from areas hot enough for molten rock beings to spaces cold enough for crystalline entities. The engineering required to make it all work was beyond anything the Galactic Confederation could have imagined, but that wasn't what made Ztholar nervous. What made him nervous was how casual the humans were about it all. Oh, this old place, Dr. Kim had said when she gave him the tour. We threw it together over the weekend. Nothing fancy, just something to make everyone comfortable while we talk. Nothing fancy. They had created a miracle of engineering over the weekend and called it nothing fancy. Now Ztholar sat in the main conference room, surrounded by representatives from hundreds of alien species. Across the table sat President Chen and her advisors, looking friendly and slightly apologetic. First, President Chen said, I want to apologize. We had no idea you were there. The translator devices struggled with her words. Several alien delegates looked confused. What do you mean you didn't know we were there? Asked General Vorthak of the Crystal Empire. We have occupied thousands of systems throughout this region for millions of years. President Chen looked genuinely puzzled. I'm sorry, but which systems? Our surveys show that the entire region has been uninhabited for centuries. Dr. Patel activated a holographic display showing the local section of the galaxy. Blue dots marked human territories while red dots showed alien claims. Oh, President Chen said, studying the display. Oh my, you've been living in the spaces between our territories. Spaces between? Ztholar asked. What do you mean? Dr. Patel zoomed in on the map. Well, for example, you list the Kepler 442 system as one of your major colonies, but that system is completely surrounded by our research stations, mining operations, and shipping lanes. How have we never detected you? General Vorthak's crystalline form flickered with nervousness. We developed stealth technology to avoid detection by your sensors. That's amazing, Dr. Patel said, and she sounded genuinely impressed. You've been living right next to us for thousands of years and we never knew. The engineering challenges alone must have been incredible. It was necessary for our survival, Ztholar said quietly. The room fell silent. President Chen looked around at the alien delegates, and Ztholar could see understanding dawning in her eyes. "You've been hiding from us," she said softly. "All this time you've been hiding because you're afraid of us." "Afraid?" General Vorthak tried to sound offended. "The Galactic Confederation fears nothing. But you've spent 3,000 years developing technology specifically to avoid human detection," Dr. Patel pointed out. "You've limited your expansion to areas humans haven't colonized. You've structured your entire civilization around staying out of our way." Another alien delegate, a floating jellyfish creature, spoke up. "The Armistice required separation between our species." "The Armistice," President Chen said, pulling up the ancient document. "I've been reading about this. According to our records, this treaty was signed after a war that lasted less than a year. A war that ended when we developed weapons that could destroy entire solar systems." The aliens shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "But here's what I don't understand," President Chen continued. "After the war ended, we just stopped. We put the dangerous weapons away. We honored the treaty. We stayed in our designated territories and left you alone." "Yes," Ztholar said cautiously. "So why declare war now? What changed?" The ambassador looked around at his fellow delegates. How could he explain that they had simply forgotten how dangerous humans could be? How could he admit that the Galactic Confederation had convinced itself over the centuries that the old stories were exaggerated? "Your expansion has accelerated," he said finally. "Your colonies have spread throughout the galaxy. Your technology has advanced beyond what we expected. But we've been careful not to interfere with inhabited systems," President Chen said. "We always scan for life before we establish colonies." "You scan for life as you understand it," General Vorthak said. "But there are forms of existence that your sensors cannot detect." Dr. Patel leaned forward, interested. "Really? What kinds of life?" And suddenly, the whole tone of the conversation changed. Instead of a diplomatic negotiation about ending a war, it became something that humans apparently couldn't resist. A scientific discussion about amazing discoveries. "Well," General Vorthak said, warming to the subject despite himself, "there are species that exist as pure energy patterns in stellar coronas, others that live in the quantum foam of space itself, some that experience time differently and exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously." "That's incredible," Dr. Patel said. "We've theorized about some of those possibilities, but we've never found evidence. Could you show us? We'd love to study these phenomena." Ztholar watched in amazement as the human scientists became genuinely excited about learning from the aliens. This wasn't how conquest was supposed to work. The humans weren't trying to dominate or destroy. They were curious. President Chen was looking at the star map again. "So when we terraform planets or modify stellar output or create shipping lanes, we might be inadvertently affecting these other forms of life?" "Often, yes," Ztholar admitted. "Then we need to change how we do things," President Chen said simply. "We'll need better scanning technology, new protocols for expansion, consultation processes with your civilizations before we start major projects." The aliens stared at her. You would change your expansion patterns to accommodate us?" "Of course. We're sharing the same galaxy. We need to be good neighbors." General Vorthak's crystalline form pulsed with confusion. "But you have the power to simply take what you want. Your technology far exceeds ours. You could conquer us easily." President Chen looked genuinely puzzled. "Why would we want to conquer you? That sounds like a lot of work and, frankly, pretty unpleasant for everyone involved. But that's what powerful species do. They expand and dominate and control. Maybe that's what species did millions of years ago," President Chen said. "But we've found that cooperation works better than conquest. Trade is more profitable than plunder. Scientific collaboration advances everyone faster than competition." She gestured to the space station around them. "Look what we built in 3 days just to have a comfortable meeting. Imagine what we could build together if we were actually working toward the same goals." Dr. Patel was already making notes. "We could establish joint research stations, share scientific databases, create exchange programs for students and researchers. We could help you develop new technologies," offered Dr. Rodriguez from the Human Engineering Council. "Maybe find ways to expand your territories without hiding from us. We could teach you about those forms of life you haven't detected yet," General Vorthak said. and he was starting to sound interested despite himself. Ztholar looked around the room and realized that something remarkable was happening. The Great War that was supposed to determine the fate of the galaxy was turning into a planning session for the largest scientific collaboration in galactic history. "So," President Chen said, "does this mean the war is off?" "I think," Ztholar said slowly, "that the war was over before it started. We just didn't realize it yet." 6 months later, Ambassador Ztholar sat in a cafe on Luna Station, writing his memoirs and watching human children play with alien students in the station's park. The book was nearly finished. He had decided to call it How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Humans. Through the cafe window, he could see the construction crews working on the new Galactic Research Center. Humans and aliens working together, building something that neither species could have created alone. The war was definitely over. In its place was something much more interesting. The beginning of the first truly galactic civilization, built not on conquest or domination, but on curiosity and cooperation. And as Ztholar watched a human engineer excitedly discussing interdimensional physics with a crystalline mathematician, he realized that this was probably what humans had been trying to achieve all along. They just hadn't known they had neighbors to share it with.